So when I say that the Natufian culture is the oldest culture in the region described as Sumer, what we first must assess is that that's a culture that goes back to 13,500 BC and at latest 12,000 BC, which still makes them 500 to 600 years older than the oldest culture, high culture in Kemet, which is Naphtha. Very significant.
Yes. How does ancient Sumer connect to Africa, if at all?
Ancient Sumer connects to Africa because, first and foremost, the people who are described later on as Sumerians, and these people begin to hit the world scene in about 4,500 BC. The people described as Sumerians, they are an admixture of a Semitic population and a Hamitic population, which means they're an admixture of peoples from Mesopotamia and peoples from the continent of Africa. So the high culture of Sumer, let's be clear, it's not a Hebrew exclusive culture. It's not a Mesopotamian exclusive culture. You have the culture in Africa contributing to the greatness of Sumer, but that's not where it ends. You also have an already existing culture in the area or region known as Sumer, which is producing greatness as well. And it's when these two clash and come together that Sumer becomes this great city-state. And this occurs about 4,500 BC. So at this time, 4,500 BC, there are no temples anywhere in Kemet. But you do have a temple in Sumer known as the White Temple as early as 3,400 BC. In fact, if you look at the Narmer palette, Brother Sarnetta, which I brought with us today, I want to show you something. If you can zoom in on the Narmer palette, I want to show the family something really quick. All right, so right here on the Narmer palette, if you can see my finger? I'm pointing towards what is known as a serek. It's a palace facade. It's a frontal view of a palace. Narmer's palette dates to 3,100 BC. At best, 3,200 BC. Narmer's palette shows a palace. And on top of the palace is the name Nar and Mer. You have the catfish, which is Nar, and you have the chisel, which gives you Mer. In the Medu Neter, that comes together to give you the name Narmer. That's how we know the name of this Nisut. We know his name Narmer because on the obverse and the reverse, we have his name etched inside the serek. So we know that this king, this Nisut, his name is Narmer. But there is a very significant artwork drawn center on both the front and the back of his palette, which is known as a serek or a palace. Why is this so significant, Brother Sarnetta? Ancient Kemet does not start or commence pyramid building until 2600 BCE. The oldest pyramid in ancient Kemet, Brother Sarnetta, is the step pyramid. The step pyramid of Zoser and the step pyramid of Imhotep. King or Nisut Zoser commissioned Imhotep to build Kemet's very first pyramid, which he did. It's the step pyramid. Attached to the step pyramid, Sarnetta, is a serek, a palace, just like you see in the Narmer palette. So what's the question here, Brother Sarnetta? How does Narmer have a picture of a palace facade or a serek in 3,100 BC, when in 3,100 BC, Kemet has no pyramid nor palace? What palace is Narmer representing when he unites the kingdom of Kemet? What palace is represented on the Narmer palette in 3,100 BC, when in 3,100 BC there is no step pyramid? In 3,100 BC, there is no palace facade. But I will tell you that there existed something in Sumer known as the White Palace. Even Brother Garfield has spoke and touched on this. Brother Garfield knows this. It's part of the reason why Brother Garfield has joined the bandwagon in teaching that Sumer certainly had some key things before Kemet. Sumer has a temple known as the White Temple, which dates back to 3,400 BC. The White Temple, the top, has a palace facade that looks exactly like the palace facades that you see in Kemet. The only difference is you don't see a palace facade in Kemet until 2600 BC. That means there's a palace facade or there's a temple in Sumer in 3400 BC, which if you're doing the math correctly, 3400 to 2600 is an 800-year span, Brother Sarnetta. Because it takes 400 years to get to 3000 and then another 400 to get to 3400.
Well,
So-
I want to tell the people, man, they better appreciate this because not too many people really breaks down Sumer the way you do, brother. And I think this is your stuff right here.
Let me just say this. When Zion made a video about Kemet and about Sumerian being first, the reason why Zion could have beat anybody in the community, because nobody ever really studied Sumer but Zion. Zion's been doing this from the 90s, family, as a kid. The dude got Sumer on lock.
That's right.
Rate the youth. Rate him for that.